welcome to this brand new episode of Newsmakers, the show where we bring to you spectacular personalities and their success stories from various walks of life. Because at Newsmakers, we really aspire to inspire you. My dear audience, I'm your host Simran, and I'm very excited and honored to bring to you yet another dynamic woman on our show today. And I'm so happy that I have got a very amazing woman who is working in the industry for past 28 years. She is a leader in herself, and I am very excited to get you meet her. She is Ms. Sonya Singh, and she is the MD and founder of SIEC Education Private Limited. Please allow me to welcome her. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
It is such a great honor to be having such an experienced person with us sharing stage on the Newsmakers. And I would like to start with this very important question. Now that you've reached this level in your life, you are a leader and you're leading a team of women and a lot of people working under you. But it is always not that easy for a woman to reach to this level. I'm sure you must have seen your highs and lows. We would like to know everything about from where you started and how you reached to this level.
Well, I started the journey in 1991 actually. And by that time, when I started the business, by that time I was already a mother to two young children. And I had no training in the area of business. I had not done an MBA. All I'd done was a Master's of English Literature from Delhi University. And everyone assumed that I'd either be a professor or a teacher. And I did not like what that brought on board. And I completely changed my career trajectory, and I started working with the hotel industry. And my message to all the young women through this is that do not get stuck with what you've studied. That just because you've done BCom that you've got to be an accountant, or just because you've done an MBA that you've got to get into the management field. If you follow your passion, the path actually opens up, and that's what happened with me. I loved being in the hotel industry, and this was before my kids were born, and I was looking for a transition, and I met this woman who had come from Australia, and they were marketing Australian education in India. And for us it was a very new concept, because in India, I mean, you had to stand in queues in order to get a registration form. And I asked her, I said, why does Australia need to market education? And she said, unlike India, the Australian universities are empty because they've got low population. The universities have fantastic infrastructures, professors, and obviously in order to make them vibrant, they're looking at diversity. And the idea intrigued me. And that is the stage when I decided that I would want to do something in this area and to do something in the area of education. But I had no idea the minefields that the industry had. And it was only when I started my own little consultancy from a little basement in my house that I realized that the industry was full of very, very shonky operators, people who were actually selling visas rather than education, and charging lakhs of rupees at that time from kids who knew that they would never succeed on the other end. And that got me to one very critical decision of my life at that time, that do I want to run this as a business, or do I want to serve the right students through the business? One side was immense wealth, quick money. On the other end was a lot of hard work and acquisition of students who really wanted to study and make a difference to their lives. And I think that conscious decision actually laid the foundation for an organization that has never compromised on its value system. And my belief is that women specifically do not respond to money or to just career aspirations. They actually respond to a value system and an organization where they feel proud of what they are doing. Because a lot of women eventually, if they're young, they're going to be mothers or they're already mothers. And they do not want to do anything wrong. And I think that gave the company a very organic growth and a set of women who actually helped me in this journey. In fact, yesterday we celebrated 25 years
Wow.
of the most remarkable woman who's worked with me for the last 25 years to build this organization.
Wow.
And and she joined me when she was just 21.
Okay.
And she was talking about her experience of 25 years, and she got married in front of me, had her kids in front of me, so we've seen each other grow. And interestingly, she was celebrating her anniversary with another young girl whose 25th birthday we were celebrating.
Wonderful.
So that shows the kind of the journey that it has been and the kind of young girls and women that it has attracted. So I think the pitfalls have been there. It has been a lot of hard work. It has been, because when I started, there was no Google, there were no emails. We had to correspond through faxes. Flights were too expensive. We had to actually take our message across to various parts of India on trains. Trains would get delayed. And I remember once sitting at Howrah station with 2 university representatives from Australia for 8 hours. And if you've been to Calcutta and Howrah station, there are no benches there. We actually had to request for newspapers to be put on the ground, and we sat on the ground because the announcers would not tell us how delayed the train was. So all those things culminated in one fact, that the only thing that succeeds is persistence, hard work, and staying true to your commitment. We could have cancelled our appointments. We could have said that the train is delayed and we can't come, but we decided to show up. And I think when you show up, people respect that. And I think as a business entrepreneur, you cannot always look at the bigger picture. You have to see the smaller sides of business as well. Who are you servicing? What value are you bringing on board? And the kind of people who are helping you in this journey, what are their aspirations? And I think when you put yourself in the center of all that, it's not about the business. It's ultimately about the people. And I think that has been the reason that I'm here to tell my story.
This is such a great thing that I've just got to know from you, Sonia ji. And here I would like to tell my audience, you know, this is rightly said that an empowered woman empowers other women. And here we have an example sitting right here, how she is taking a league of women. And you know, you just told us a beautiful story, a woman celebrating her 25th anniversary at the same time of women celebrating her 25th birthday. It's an absolutely honor to be hearing your journey and how the kind of hard works you've seen. And I would like to tell all my audience here, especially the women audience, this is an inspiration that we must take from her, who is a leader leading her organization. Now I would like to know more about SIEC. What made you to start this? What was that inspiration to start foreign education? And how do you see yourself like standing out?
Well, I think every middle class Indian parent, and I am of the firm belief Indian parents save for 2 things. Education of their children and marriages of their children. And education comes first. And what we've noticed is marriages have no guarantee.
Exactly.
But if you educate your children well, at least you have assured them a good life. And when I saw what was going on in the industry, that the hard working parents taking out loans and the hard work that was going into sending their kids abroad, the students were not getting the right kind of advice or guidance. For most of the people, for most of the agencies, I mean quite a few of them actually in the industry, it was all about making quick money and actually making a fool of this gullible, because the parents had no exposure.
True that, yes.
So that was my first inspiration, that if we are able to make a difference in this industry and make a difference to the lives of the people who get in touch with us, we would have given something back. So that got me to get into this industry and create a value system which said that the students and their families come first. And when we set that tone, I think it was very, very important to note that we did not have money to market the business. We had no money to throw huge newspaper ads. But because of the information we were giving, the business grew by word of mouth. So I'll give you two contrasting scenarios. I once had this very, very super ultra rich woman who comes into my office and she says, my son is absolutely spoiled and he is not studying over here. If I send him overseas, I want to make him independent and lead a life, you know, that at least he understands the value for money and everything. And my advice, so I started talking to the son and I started talking to her. And she says, but my son is not used to cooking on his own. Can I send my cook along with him? And I was horrified. I was actually shocked. And I said, if your son is so spoiled and you really want to become unspoiled, then you can't send him a cook.
Exactly.
Then you have to let him be. And if you think he can't be, please keep him here. Don't send him because he'll not survive.
True.
So that was one contrast. The other contrast, and I still remember that gentleman, there used to be a train that used to come from Punjab to Delhi and it would reach Delhi early in the morning, and my helper came and told me that there is this gentleman who seems to be from Punjab. He's carrying his little luggage and he's carrying a bag, and it was about 7 a.m. in the morning and I was getting my kids dressed for school. And I said, make him sit, give him a cup of tea. And I spoke to him and he put this bag of cash on my table and he says, this is my life's earning. I've sold my land and this is my son and I want him to go to Australia to study at any cost because I don't think he'll have a, and I looked at him and I said, you know, you take the money because you've got to pay to the university. You don't have to pay me anything. Because we used to give all our services free of charge.
Wonderful.
We never used to charge a penny for our consultation, for admission process or anything. And I told him, I said, we don't charge anything. And he got very offended. And if everyone understands Punjabi, he said very categorically, ki madam, tusi sada kam karke nahi dena, taan karke mana kar rahe ho. And I said, no. If your son deserves to go, if his academics are right, and if he can do well, we'll send him. To cut the long story short, we sent him and the father was absolutely amazed that he had to pay no money to us. He paid the university and the son did very well when he went overseas. And he actually became an entrepreneur and a business person. So when you looked at the aspirations of the parents, your heart actually bled for them. And you could not compromise on your value system in order to, you know, cheat these people.
Yes.
And I think that is the backbone of what SIEC is today.
Wonderful.
And despite the fact that we've grown to about 330 women who are employed within the organization, and we've got 28 branches, and we've got branches in Australia, Canada, and UK, there's never been a business plan as such. It's always been who wanted to take the lead. We told them independently to take a lead of their vertical, what they wanted to do, helped and intervened when they asked for help. But my belief is that every person has the talent and the fire within them to succeed if we let them succeed.
Absolutely.
And their success has contributed to the organization's success.
Exactly.
So that's where it has
That
been.
goes parallelly.
Yep.
Yes. What a great journey and what a great thing to get to know here. And for my dear audience, we've just got to also know that our parents, you know, like we just had to get to hear an example. There were two different parents. Of course, they both had money, but how they both saved it, what matters. Now here, what matters to me now, that lot of kids here these days, they are wanting to go abroad. Now there's a rage outside. Everybody, in fact, if I say to my own child, even she's willing to go abroad and she wants to start study. But here the very important question comes. Now we see that there are plethora of, you know, these study abroad organizations. We have so many places available. At this point of time, kids are also they're literally confused as to which place to go. Now I would like you to tell us that, of course, now that I see the SIEC is a most ethical place, I would definitely would want to come to you for my child. But why would somebody, besides this, what are those key points that a child should come to you or a parent should come to you specifically SIEC, and how do you stand out from all other study abroad organizations?
Well, the flip side of the question is there are a lot of newspapers out there.
Yes.
And they are increasing every day.
Yes.
What makes Hindustan Times stand out?
Being the best.
Yes. Legacy.
Yes.
Authenticity of news.
Yes.
Research.
Exactly.
Excellent journalism. So that's what makes
That's-
people buy the newspaper.
That's the USP. Correct.
My mother still buys Hindustan Times.
Yes.
And she's 84. So similarly, for us as an organization, like I said, every student, every family, every situation is unique. Some parents are business families who do not want their kids to settle abroad. They want them to come and join the business. Some kids and parents want to settle abroad, get their permanent residency and become NRIs. There are others who are looking at some escape from their own situation because they don't have opportunities in their own villages or in their small towns. And so what we do at SIEC is we understand those needs. We try to find out the financial capability of the student and his family. We try to find out what are the career aspirations for the student and his family. Does a country or a course or a university lead them to their career aspirations? So it is not just about, what's open and just send them there. And that is why we do not, we call our advisors career advisors, because they help a student and a family map their journey right from year 12 to what they want to be at the end of 3 to 5 years, and how much money are they investing and what are the returns that they're looking at, because ultimately that's what matters. And when I used to counsel, I used to say something very, very clearly. I used to say that India has some of the best education institutes in the world.
Right.
And there's nothing like living with your family and doing your bachelor's degree over here and maybe go for a master's. But now the situation's changed so much because there are a lot of, Delhi University and all the government universities are absolutely chock-a-block with applications. And a student who's got even 90% stands no chance. Then the choice comes between private Indian universities and universities abroad, where the tuition fee is almost the same. It's comparable. If the parents are progressive and they want the child to have an experience which is not totally Indian, then we encourage them to send them abroad. Because again, a university degree is not just about getting a degree. It's about being able to study, live, work on your own.
Correct.
Especially Indian boys who don't even know how to make a cup of tea for themselves.
Exactly.
It's such a huge learning experience for them. Similarly, when you are navigating different, and the world is flat now, so when you're navigating different cultures, so supposing you are working in a startup, you could have Americans with you, you could have Vietnamese, you could have Thai people, you could have Chinese. And if you do not understand the cultural makeup of a different country, to become professionally successful becomes very difficult.
Correct.
So you get your Indianness, but you also have all these cultures that you learn from, and you become a rounded human being. So in addition to your degree, you know how to navigate the world. And I think that is very, very critical when someone's choosing their study options abroad. So academic qualification, financial capability, English language skills, career aspirations, all of them are mapped in order to help a student go to the next level.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Sonya Singh. We just got to hear very important things for all the students and parents to keep in mind. One very important thing that I got to know is that if a child is wanting to go abroad and study abroad, what matters the most is they get to learn other cultures and they get to become independent. This is, I think, for all the parents and especially for kids at this point of time. We want them to learn to be independent, because this time after COVID, they're all been so dependent on the things that are available. Now, I would like to go to this question that what is the current level of interest among Indian students in pursuing studies abroad? Which destinations they are more likely to choose?
Well, the market from India to study abroad is growing exponentially and will continue to grow. The countries of choice at this point of time are Australia, Canada, UK, USA. They are the top 4. But there are other destinations which have not been on the top 4, but which are emerging destinations, as I call them. So that's Germany. In Europe, France is becoming very aggressive in recruiting international students because they also want that. The Japanese ambassador was recently in India, and he actually put it out on YouTube that if you want to study and work in Japan, we give you a visa in 24 hours.
Oh, wonderful.
Singapore is another country, and the country to watch out for is India, because India is set to attract a lot of international students into India.
That's wonderful.
Because of the excellence in education. So like I said, the world's flat.
Yes.
It's not always going to be how many are going abroad. It'll be an exchange.
How many coming here? Right.
There'll be students coming in, there'll be students going and studying abroad. And I think it's going to be a very, very interesting next 10 years in the international education industry. And so students who go to France, Germany, they actually have to learn the language once they are there. So the English speaking countries still rule the roost.
Correct.
But the others are becoming more relevant now because of the opportunities that they offer. And the market's going by about 35 to 40% every year.
But what I've been seeing is that Canada is what kids
Yes.
are wanting to go. This is at the rage, like every kid you want to hear that I would want to go to Canada. This is one of the prime location or the destination kids are wanting to reach.
It has changed.
Okay.
Canada had a very different kind of a requirement of their students. Unlike Australia and UK and US, where the universities were wanting students from India, Canadian universities stayed away from international recruitment.
Okay.
It was mainly the polytechnics and the colleges that were wanting to attract students. And this was typical a year 12 student who would go at the age of 18. And I think that was the university staying away and just one sector opening up has led to the problems that Canada is facing now. And that is why they've actually in 2024 and late 2023, they actually put a stop to all their international recruitment till they have not gone back to the drawing board and seen what exactly is happening to the students. Because Canada has some good stories and some horror stories as well.
True.
And that happened because a typical 18-year-old who's leaving his hometown or village or town for the first time is not a competent, employable kid at the age of 21. So the students were feeling cheated that they have spent all this money. They've got the work rights, but there are no jobs available.
Correct.
The employer's dilemma was that the kids have got their diplomas or their degrees from Canada, but they're not employable because they've not learned the other skills that are so critical in order to be employable in Canada. Because the problem that happens with 18, 19-year-old very young kids is that they stick to their own communities. They have the same dal roti, they go and watch Bollywood. They do not culturally assimilate into the culture that they have adopted or gone into.
Right.
If you do not know the Canadian way of life, and when you're going for an interview, how are you going to address the interviewee's questions? Those are the things I think that every student who's going anywhere abroad needs to keep in mind. That you are leaving a country behind. If you want to adapt to another culture, you have to go out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
You've got to make Canadian or Australian friends. You've got to watch their news, what they are excited about, their sports, and where is the country progressing towards. You cannot look backwards.
Correct.
And just attend classes and come home and do the same things that you were doing at home.
Exactly.
Then you've not traveled anywhere. And I think that has been the biggest challenge for students who do not prepare themselves for this eventuality, because Indian kids are shy. They don't reach out and they expect others to reach out. But those kids are shy too and they don't know where you're coming from. So those barriers have been a problem. A very young age has been a problem. The country is not actually thinking through their international recruitment policies has been a problem. And that is what Canada is going through at this point of time. And the numbers are dropping.
All right, so now that we have a great news here that destinations like Japan, we've got France, and a lot of such places I think not much kids have explored. And now here we have a lot of opportunities for our kids to be there and learn this, go ahead and learn a lot in such places. And I really see Japan as one of the bestest country. I really have seen they are very, very good with their kids, right from the beginning they teach them ethics. That I've seen and heard. Yes. Now here when you said that a child should prepare themselves, now here first of all that they should accustom to the place, they should be friendly with other people, but before that, if you're wanting to go abroad as a student, what are those things that they should keep in mind as to how should they start to prepare themselves?
Well, you've got to be prepared for a fact that going abroad is not a ticket to success. Your parents have spent the money, they've got the ticket for you, the agencies that you've engaged have got you the visa. Once you're on the other end, nobody's waiting there with a red carpet for you to arrive. It's a hard life and it is very tough. So the students have to be aware of the fact that everyone says that, I'll start doing a part-time job over there. A kid who has not even picked up a glass of water when his exams were on, has been fed by his parents, has only got to study in order to get marks, is living in a comfortable environment. When you expect that child to go and start working in a part-time job, buy his groceries, cook his own food, do his own dishes, clean the house, submit assignments, appear for exams, what's going to happen?
Lot of jitters.
Lot of jitters, lot of failures.
Yes.
So it is not that every student succeeds. Please keep in mind, every student does not succeed. Students who are mentally prepared to go through this hard yard. So you've got a 12-hour to a 14-hour day when you're doing all these things. A lot of kids then want to come back because they say, my life in India was very comfortable, and people do come back. Kids do come back. But the ones who are willing to go it's a mental preparation.
Right.
Are you willing to get up at 5 in the morning and go to bed at 11 at night? That's part one. Secondly, you do not have the finances or the money to have an exclusive house. So you share your accommodation with other students. So in an accommodation where there are 4 kids of same age studying, everyone has different personalities. How are you going to deal with each other? How are you going to find time to focus on your studies? How are you going to divide the chores that have to be done between the 4 of you? And if you all fight, that leads to a lot of anxiety and depression as well. So studying abroad is not a cakewalk. It is very tough. Only the brave and the hardworking survive, but the ones who do really become successful because they understand the value of hard work. I mean, I've seen kids who belong to excellent families over here doing dishes, serving at restaurants, being waiters, driving taxis, and cleaning bathrooms as well. Because the value of labor is learnt when you're doing it yourself. They become kinder, they become more empathetic towards the domestic helps that they had at home. I think it changes your personality. And you've got to be mentally prepared to change your personality. I mean, I had an ex-student who now runs one of the most successful real estate agencies in Australia.
Wow.
And he laughs with me sometimes, and he's got grey hair now, and he says, do you remember when I came to you? And he says, this is what you told me, that if you are able to do all this, you'll succeed. And he says, I kept that one thing, that I've got to work hard.
Wow.
And he says that's what helped.
Such a great thing that we've just got to hear. Once again, my dear students, if you're watching this show right now, this is absolutely for all of you and also for the parents, that we need to teach our kids that it's not a cakewalk. You have to work hard. You have to do a lot of things to prepare yourself before you want to go study abroad. There is a lot of struggle there outside. But yes, like we've just got to hear the example that a person in Australia is now leading real estate company, and how he's worked hard to be there. So all thanks to you, Sonia ma'am, and I'm sure you've also been instilling this in your organization. Now I would like to come back to how you're working with the League of Women. Now I want to ask, this is a very different question. We are in a male dominated society, and working with women is, of course, like you being a leader, and there's a lot of strength that you give to your organization and the people you work with. How do you manage to do that? I'm sure you must have also seen this kind of a male domination. Has this happened to you?
Well, in our industry, most of the founders are all men. I think there would not be more than 2 women in the whole of India who would be owning an agency like ours. So obviously it is a male dominated industry and a male dominated world. In fact, we've got an association of representatives in India, and all of the members of that association till last year were only men. Last year, I and the other woman, we got elected to the executive committee, and the rules are made by men.
Yes.
So as an organization and as a leader, it has, I mean, I'll go back to a long time ago when I was in a job. And when I was working, there was one thing that would always come into my head, was that if I ever am given the opportunity to run a company or run a business, I want it to be the most comfortable, inspiring place where women would feel happy coming to work, and they would spend 8 hours there, and they would not want to go home.
Wow.
So that got me thinking. And the first thing that came to my mind was, you know, if you notice that when you're joining an organization or an office, the women's toilets are always down the corridor. You know, I mean, there's no thought given to it. So when I started renting out offices and places, the first thing was, we need a toilet inside the office. I do not want young girls running across corridors using, you know, the same washrooms that everyone else is kind of using. That's the first sign of respect that you give to your women. And I remember when we were renting out offices in places like Bombay and all, and they'd say, you know, nobody's asked for this because it increases the cost of real estate to have individual bathroom. And I said, no, that's a given, because I've been through it and I've seen that happen. So that was the physical part of those. The other aspect was that a lot of young women, when they leave house in the morning, have sent their kids to school, have packed tiffins, have cooked for the entire day, and then they are rushing out of the house in order to get to work. And when you get to work, you are either hungry or you've not even had a cup of tea. So we started a system of actually serving them snacks and tea, so that no one is sitting, you know, waiting for lunchtime to happen and completely their nerves are frayed. So I think that's worked very well. So looking at the health of the women was very, very important. In addition to that, in terms of their KPIs, there is no one that sits on their head. Because what I've noticed with women is the ones that are really responsible, you tell them what needs to be done, they do it. They don't take out this list of KPIs and tick mark that this is what I was supposed to do, and they will go out of their way to help each other too. So in case someone's child is sick and she's not coming, the other one would actually step in and say, that's fine, she can take a leave and I'll take on the burden of her work. So all those qualities that women bring into the workforce is absolutely untapped, unprecedented. And being a woman and being able to recognize that, I think our entire policies, our entire expansion plan is derived not from what the management book says, but when we sit around a table and ask each other, where to from here? And don't get me wrong, women are very ambitious too.
Yes.
They've got a fire in their belly. They just need a platform. And a lot of people in the industry keep on asking me, because I think we are the only company in the entire industry that has such long-standing staff.
Okay. Wow.
So Anu, who's just kind of celebrated 25 years, we've got another 4 or 5 senior women. Someone's been there for 20 years, there's another one for 18 years, then there's another one who's been there for almost 15 or 16 years, and it goes on and on. So when they come and they don't leave, shows that we could be doing something right.
Yes.
In a very male-dominated corporate world.
Yes.
And it's very satisfying.
I would like to say that from my personal end, I loved hearing it out when you said such amazing things, that how you create an atmosphere for women. Few things which we just don't notice, like all of us women as workers, as professionals, we're almost running day and night to make our ends meet. And to have a leader like you, I'm sure it is such a great thing, and I'm really sure if we get to have all your people with us today, they would definitely say that we are happy to be with a leader like you. And I am so happy and fortunate to be meeting you and sharing this stage and getting to know so many things, just not as a women leader, but yes, lot of things for parents to know, that if you have to send your kids abroad, the important thing is that you have to make them learn hard work. And there are many other things that we've learned through this interview. I would like to say thank you to you today, ma'am. But before I go, I know it's an interview, it's going for long, but then I would like to have a very quick advice from you for all those aspiring students and for the parents. A very quick advice as to what would you say, how can they just quickly prepare themselves, besides making them ethical, what are those key points they should remember?
Well, the first thing I've got to say is that even if you buy a piece of furniture or even if you are buying an airline ticket, you do your research. You go to different forums, you look at what's available, what is the best value for money. Similarly, do not go by what agents or agencies tell you. You have to do your own research. It is very, very important, because information is now readily available. Do your own research, get feedback from students who are already studying in these countries. See how their progression has been. Go with a list of questions that are very, very relevant to your particular life. Just don't go and say, ma'am, you choose what I should do, or you decide what I should do, or what country should I go to. Then you're playing into the hands of people who may not have your best interest at heart.
Right.
So it is the responsibility of the parents and the students, both, to go well researched, to find out all aspects of the information that's available, and be prepared physically and mentally. And my advice also to the parents is that just because you've sent your children to do undergraduate degrees abroad, you can't just let them be. It is important for parents to actually visit every 6 months to 1 year to see how your kids are doing, what kind of friends do they have, what kind of company are they keeping. Just be a silent observer. It is not that you throw them at the deep end and expect them to swim. So this is a journey that involves us as an agency, the kids and the parents, and we all have to navigate it together. And an agency that does that with you is what you should choose.
Absolutely. And I think for all the parents here, I would just want to say from my heart, knowing Sonia ji, is that I would want all the parents to go to SIEC if they are wanting to send their kids abroad, for a lot of things that we've just got to know. It's just not an ethical organization. It really thinks for your child. And if they would also tell you that in case it's not needed, please do not send. India does have a great education system here. Thank you so very much from the bottoms of my heart for being here, and especially we are also celebrating this International Women's Day all through this month, and having a women leader with us on Newsmakers makes a lot of difference. Thank you once again for being here.
Thank you.
And here, my dear audience, I loved this interview, and if you have also, please do let us know. Our emails are reflecting here, and also would like to say, if you think that you do have a story to share, please do not wait and also send us your love. Here's Simran signing off, but I promise that I will be back again with yet another dynamic personality. So stay tuned and stay blessed like always. See ya.